Hi guys, welcome to my first process video. Here I've taken a photo of Big Lagoon in Denham, WA, and projected it onto a 30 by 36 canvas where I've traced the major outlines, so I've got some sort of dimension and shape. Usually I start with the sky and work down because that gives some indication of depth when you're adding layers of paper on top of each other. The biggest problem I have with any of this stuff is that the paper is only 12 by 12 inches. So, trying to make something 36 inches wide is quite difficult. So you have to break it down into parts, as you can see here. I'm using A3 paper, just blank printer paper to draw. What I'm doing is tracing the basic outline to get the size and the general shape, and then cutting roughly so it overlays the piece before it. So if you have a look there, I'm just doing the landscape where the landscape meets the sky. That's one of the important milestones in creating art this way, is because it's clearly definable by not only the texture, but mostly the color. And the same with the water. Once the water starts, same thing again. So here, I tried something new. This is using string or ribbon that looks like string on top of paper. So you can actually see it, but it gives it more of that blue color and that depth and texture. So one of the biggest things in this painting is actually the curve of the bay and where the water wraps around the land there. So that's why I started with it. It needs to be predominant. It needs to be defined because it really drags the eye down into the painting. You might have seen there, that was my one of my cats, Lily. She's often in there helping because it's one of the only places that they can get the sun. So just here, I'm working on the water. That water there is very shallow, probably 10 centimeters deep at the most, and not rough, very smooth. So I tried a new technique. I found some tissue paper. I matched the colors underneath and then covered it in tissue paper and added some wrinkles and things to get texture. So you've got that illusion of depth and it's actually underwater. You can see me putting the tissue paper over the top just to cover the water and give it that depth that I was talking about. That tissue paper is very delicate too and rips very easily. So it took me a long time to get, because you can't just cut it with a scalpel or with a blade. You have to try and cut it on a certain angle so that it doesn't rip. And if you don't get Mod Podge under the right places too, it leaves bubbles and it leaves parts that don't look the same. It's quite an involved process. I don't know how successful it was. I think it adds another dimension. And, with the contrast to the land and the sky, I think it works okay. Here I'm working on the land or the start of the beach and working into the sand dunes. I think there was a couple of rocks there, but getting that water's edge is important, just like I said before with the coastline. Just adds another contrast between the water and the land. So it's very hard to do seaweed in any of my paintings because it's kind of probably should go with the string in that case, and I might do that down the track. But in this case, it was just picking the right paper and for the right texture and the right color. That's the most important thing, and that's probably my main job, is picking colors, picking textures, and cutting it in the right way so you get the right lines, the right shapes in the right place. So we're just working on continuing that curve in the bay and continuing it down. It looks like the start of some of the sand dunes. In this place too, the beach is very sand-like, like in Perth, that kind of white sand, but also has like a pink tinge to it. But up there, once you get past the beach, the sand dunes are very orange. It's a different kind of sand. If you go further up, the sand turns to rock and you get cliffs and things like that. So there's a definite contrast between the water, then the beach, and then the sand dunes. From the perspective of me taking this photo, it's actually at a lookout point. So I try not to get anything man-made in the painting if I can. I wanted the nature to shine through. So from that perspective, you've got a lot of bush between me and the actual beach. So that's what we're working on here, trying to, the Australian bush is very distinctive, and trying to get some of those plants out of paper, again, is hard, but trying to get those plants to look as realistic as possible. And, maybe even dropping some of the infested weeds and things that may have been there. Yeah, lots of colors in plants. I've got a few standard pieces of card that I use for plants. They've got the majority of colors, but some of these plants are very unique, the way the light and the sun hits them. See, that tool that I'm using there is actually cuts out circles. So instead of sitting there and drawing 100 circles with a scalpel, I use that tool, gets perfect circles, and that becomes the flower buds for those plants. I'm gluing it on, which is tedious work, but actually quite fun, just gluing them on randomly, seeing the picture come to life. So I'm actually using upside down jars there to try and secure the thing. It helps to hold it flat while it's drying. And there it is, the final picture. Let me know what you think in the comments.